What will happen when a man who loves rescuing animals finds a horse in danger of being sent to slaughter? He acts quickly to save her, but when he brings her to his farm, an incredible event occurs that changes his life forever. The story begins with a man named Chris, who has always loved helping animals in need. In 2014, he took this passion a step further by creating Freedom Farm Animal Rescue in New Jersey. With his team, Chris welcomed animals who had been hurt, neglected, or were close to facing a tragic end. Many of the animals he saved had barely escaped slaughterhouses where their lives would have ended. A big turning point for Chris came in 2016 when he rescued his first farm animal, a little lamb named Locke. Bringing Locke to safety changed Chris deeply. He and his girlfriend even decided to go vegan after learning about the cruelty in the meat and dairy industries. Sadly, Locke passed away from an infection not long after Chris saved him. But even though their time together was brief, Locke left a lasting impact on Chris, driving him to dedicate his life to rescuing other farm animals. As the president of Freedom Farm Animal Rescue, Chris often found himself at livestock auctions. These were tough places to be. The sight of animals waiting for a sad fate weighed heavily on him. But Chris knew that being there gave him a chance to help even a few animals find a second chance at life. In 2017, he shared his experience with the dodo, explaining, "You stand there in a warehouse and see thousands of animals that will be killed today. It makes you wonder, what am I doing here?" Despite the heartache, Chris believed that if he could save even one animal, facing those scenes was worth it. For him, every rescue was a victory, a step closer to his dream of giving these animals a better life. One summer day in 2017, Chris and his team went to a livestock auction. Their goal was simple: capture photos and videos to show others the harsh reality of these auctions. They hadn't planned on rescuing any animals that day. But as fate would have it, something stopped Chris in his tracks. Among the crowd of animals, he noticed a horse with the number 25 inches branded on her neck. For Chris, this wasn't just a random number. He had the number 25 tattooed on his arm in memory of his late uncle. This strange coincidence felt like a sign, stirring something deep within him. The horse seemed to call out to him, as if they were meant to find each other. Chris knew he couldn't leave without her. The horse, later named Clara, was marked for direct ship, which meant she was set to be sent to slaughter after the auction. Her condition was heartbreaking. Clara had many pin firing marks on her legs, a cruel treatment often used on racehorses. This painful procedure involves injecting acid to temporarily numb their pain, letting them keep racing. While most horses had 4 or 5 marks, Clara had 18 on each leg, showing just how much she had suffered. Chris felt deeply moved by her situation and knew he couldn't leave her behind. Determined to save Clara, Chris launched a fundraiser to gather the money needed for her rescue. He was overjoyed when kind-hearted animal lovers quickly came together to support the cause, donating enough to secure Clara's release. Before long, she was on her way to Freedom Farm Animal Rescue, where she would finally find peace and safety. When Clara arrived, her rescuers welcomed her with open arms. It didn't take long for her to show how happy she was to be in her new home. As soon as they released her into the quarantine field, she rolled joyfully on the ground, as if she were celebrating her newfound freedom. Chris watched with tears in his eyes, moved by the sight of Clara enjoying her first moments of safety. As Chris learned more about Clara, he discovered she was born in Illinois in 1999 and had once been a successful racehorse. After her racing days, she was sold to work as an Amish buggy horse, a tough life that eventually led her to the auction house where Chris found her. Although Clara was now physically safe, the emotional scars from her past still lingered, reminding everyone of her tough journey. Clara's fear of humans was one of the first challenges Chris faced when he began to care for her. When he tried to approach her, she would flinch and throw her head back, as if she expected to be hurt. Years of mistreatment had taught Clara to be afraid of people, but Chris was determined to show her that she was safe now. With patience and kindness, he worked to gain her trust, reassuring her that she was finally in a loving place. Slowly but surely, Clara began to change. She started to run up to the gate whenever Chris came to feed her, her excitement growing instead of her fear. She began to realize she was no longer in danger, and watching this transformation was truly amazing. As Clara became more comfortable in her new home, her gentle and affectionate personality started to shine. She followed Chris and his team around the pasture, showing how far she had come from the frightened horse that was once headed for slaughter. Seeing Clara thrive filled Chris with joy and pride. The once fearful horse had turned into a loving companion, and her gratitude showed in every sweet moment they shared. Reflecting on her journey, Chris shared with the dodo, "She's just an absolute sweetheart. If we're in her field, she'll follow us all around." To go from a horse that was on her way to a slaughterhouse to following us around the pasture, that's incredible. Clara's transformation meant the world to him, showing the true power of kindness and second chances. Chris had witnessed countless animals suffer and knew all too well the horrors they faced in the agricultural industry. Yet, stories like Clara's filled him with hope and renewed his commitment to rescuing animals from abuse and neglect. As time passed, Clara became a symbol of strength and a shining example of the work done at Freedom Farm Animal Rescue. Her story touched the hearts of everyone who heard it, encouraging others to join the mission and help more animals find safety and happiness. Clara's joyful presence at the sanctuary served as a constant reminder of the impact of Chris's work and how one person's dedication can make a real difference in the lives of animals in need. As Clara continued to thrive, she became a source of strength for Chris, even on his hardest days. She had moved from a life filled with suffering to one of peace, surrounded by people who loved and cared for her. Each time Clara trotted over to greet him, Chris felt that rescuing her had been worth every bit of effort. Her story reminded him of the reasons he started Freedom Farm Animal Rescue and why he would keep fighting for animals like her. Clara's journey was more than just a rescue. It was a story of hope, redemption, and how a simple act of kindness can change a life. Chris learned that sometimes saving just one animal can make all the difference. Clara found her family at the sanctuary, and Chris discovered a renewed purpose in his work. Together, they showed the world that every animal deserves a chance at freedom, love, and a safe place to call home. Clara inspired everyone around her, proving that healing and happiness are possible, even after a difficult past. That's all for today. Now, it's your turn to share your thoughts about this story. What's the next story you'd like to know? Let us know in the comment section below, and be sure to subscribe so you won't miss any of these amazing videos on The Wild Wonder.